Welcome. This is my money and banking final project. I'm here with my friend, acquaintance Davis Lambert. How have you been doing?
I mean, pretty good, yeah.
Doing pretty good. Staying 6 feet apart, obviously.
Yeah.
How's the coronavirus affected your stocks?
Well, I can definitely tell you that I have a lot of uncertainty with what's been going on. I noticed that when the market first plummeted, I was very kind of worried about that.
Yes.
And I was kind of thinking maybe I should do something else with my money, like not really put in more money. But then also I've been thinking the best time to put in money into your stocks is when the stock market is low, because it's always gonna go up again.
Yes, it's a very volatile market. A lot of change goes on. It's always up and down. Right now, we're experiencing some upturns in the stock market as opposed to just a couple weeks ago when it was relatively low because of all the businesses being shut down because of the government mandates and such. How do you think the Fed has handled the crisis, and how do you think the authority in America have handled the crisis?
I think the White House has done a great job in preventing possibly a worst case scenario. I think that the president has taken measures to prevent the spread, and it's worked actually pretty well. I think, especially closing businesses, closing restaurants. That's a major way for infection, and so the things that he has done in that department, as well as the economic stimulus plan, have really helped out the economy staying pretty high.
Yeah, I think the stimulus checks are a good way to keep people good while they're unemployed and don't have a way to support themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Have you received a stimulus check?
I've not, unfortunately.
I have not either, because I did not file for taxes in 2019.
Yeah, we're both considered dependents.
Yeah,
so.
sadly.
Would be nice, but
Which businesses do you think will have a hard time recovering after this?
I think definitely restaurants,
Yes.
because they're not going to have as much business during this time period, so they're definitely going to have to take some of their retained earnings and have to spend those on keeping the business alive. And so they might see a huge influx of business once it starts up again, but they're definitely going to struggle, especially the newer businesses, because they didn't realize that this was going to happen, and that probably really hurt them.
Yes, I agree. I personally think that barbershops will have a huge amount of money coming in because people need their haircuts.
I agree with you on that.
After that, it's just going to be huge. As long as those businesses can stay afloat in this time of crisis, when they're not working, it's going to be all the much better when they finally open again.
Yeah, I don't really know the details of the stimulus package, but I know that the president or the White House did send out a lot of money to businesses. And so hopefully that can keep them alive and keep them growing. But then there also is that cost of how much money we spent on that stimulus package.
Yeah.
So I think it might have been a necessary precaution.
Oh, for sure. Which businesses do you think will recover remarkably strong? I personally think small businesses like I don't know what it is. I think it's like 75% of all American income comes from small businesses and small business owners. Like, how do you think that they will recover?
Well, I think that they're going to see a huge amount of the population coming back to their stores, because I mean, people have been in their houses for so long. They're ready to get out and about, and so these small businesses offer a way for people to get back into the world. And so they're going to be doing that, and then going out and about, just doing all these things. So.
Why do you think that the businesses that won't recover from this won't recover from it?
I think it's more of how they handled their business beforehand. If they were tight on money, if they didn't really handle their finances well, then I think they're definitely going to struggle during all this happening and when this is all over. So it's all about their preparation and the way that their business is modeled.
Yeah. The way that people model their business is a good way to see what type of person they are as well. If their life is out of order, and their business will be out of order, and they won't be prepared for crises that we've had.
Yeah, I think that this coronavirus could definitely weed out the weaker businesses from the strong ones. And I mean, that's kind of how the world goes, but it's unfortunate at the same time.
Yeah, it's just the way that it is. The strong survive. Kind of like what Charles Darwin said.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, we're back again. Back with Davis again. How has coronavirus, in a way, opened America's eyes to the Chinese market of like kind of holding American hostage.
Yeah, I think that China has really messed up.
Yeah.
And how they've handled this. Of course, it did originate from China, and calling it a Chinese virus, there's nothing wrong with that because
It's completely valid.
yeah. And the fact, I mean, we still don't really know exactly how it happened, but if it was the bats, I mean, the Chinese markets are really not cleanly at all, and so there's a lot of risk for disease infection there. But then if there's also concerns that it started in a lab. And
Yeah, the one thing that I actually saw was that the only level 4 bio lab where they work on viruses is right across the street from the wet market that it supposedly started in. And the only bio lab that's in is in Wuhan.
Yeah, and so that's very problematic, and it's opening many eyes and potentially, and I know China's under investigation right now by many countries, in fact. But also, they did not report a lot of their cases.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, they were reporting their cases, but then they stopped reporting them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard that some doctors were trying to say, hey, China's not being faithful with how many they're reporting, and I think those doctors were fired.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that they've been handling this is atrocious.
Yeah.
And they need to be
lying all the
called out for it.
time.
Yeah.
Another thing that relates to is how do you think America will respond to China, like with our money that we give them every year for shit toys and stuff like that? Like, how do you think that would come about?
I think we're definitely gonna think about how we're giving our money to China and if it's actually worth it.
Yeah.
And potentially try to get some jobs back into the United States, because we can't. I mean, if China's gonna be doing this kind of stuff, we can't be relying on them for that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I agree. That also raises a thing about, this all started with Bill Clinton signing the deal with China. Wait, no, it wasn't. It's whatever. All right, well, how do you think that this whole pandemic in the world affected the pharmaceuticals industry?
I think that right now they're probably going crazy.
Yeah.
Their business has probably exploded because first of all, you have companies that are trying to find a cure. Although the cure may not come out for like another year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also have companies that are making drugs that you use in a household, and so those whether it be for the coronavirus or not, people are still. This is pollen season here,
Yeah.
so they're still doing pretty good, and then they're also making drugs that can help relieve the symptoms.
The hydrochloroxine or something, like whatever, that President Trump personally recommended, and it helped the Michigan governor get over that because she had coronavirus and she recovered well using the hydrochloroxidine or whatever it's called.
Yeah, so pharmaceutical companies are definitely they're definitely being helped by this coronavirus.
Along with the coronavirus, this also raises the question of hospital availability and like the hospital market. How are these privately funded insurance companies, like health insurance companies, how do you think they're doing with this? Like, how do you think they're making money?
I think they're probably losing money.
Yeah,
a lot
me
of money.
too.
Because you have a bunch of families they have huge plans, life insurance, stuff like that, and then there's been a lot of deaths in the United States, and so with deaths come a huge amount of money to those families, and so those companies may be doing not so well at this moment, but I mean that's part of being an insurance company.
It is, yes. How do you think that the coronavirus task force in the White House has handled the medical resource applicability? Like getting like ventilators to people that need them, hitting the hotspots like New York and Detroit and Louisiana in some cases. How do you think they're handling that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think that having their daily White House briefings has been very impactful and helpful, because they've been informing the public on what they need to do, what they need to have as far as the medical supplies. And so they've been talking about ventilators and face masks and what you need, because there's a lot of stuff going around about the fake face masks and stuff that doesn't work, and there's only a few ones that actually do work and how you can test it out. And so I think they've been making things very clear on what you need and what you should have.
Yeah. Like things like ventilators for people that are elderly and they have pre-existing conditions that coronavirus could affect and onset, such as pneumonia. you know, they have to be in a hospital for that. They have to be quarantined. They have to be in an ICU unit with all these type of resources. And I think that the federal authorities handled this really well in this upcoming crisis. But what do you think the worldwide effect of the coronavirus will be, like things that could possibly change because of this whole pandemic we've been a part of?
I think it's hard to tell at this moment because I mean it's still going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean it may be winding down a little bit, but at the same time there's still new deaths every day, and our economy's not opened yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the repercussions of this will be more long term.
Yeah.
And so we'll start to see the worldwide effects of it in the next few months. But it's going to be interesting to see what those look like, because they can be companies starting to fail because of this time period. It can be many different things. So.
Yeah, it's true. All right, thank you.